Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV warns that the Magdalo will withdraw its support for the opposition if Vice President Leni Robredo gives way to Senator Panfilo Lacson in the 2022 elections.
Robredo has recently met with Senator Ping Lacson. However, this does not mean that Robredo will be supporting Lacson's 2022 presidential bid.
Relax lang. Huwag tayong masyadong mag-overreact pag meron tayong napalitang pag-usap. Over the past 3 months, ang daming pinipilit unahan si VP Leni. Parang binabasa ba yung kanyang mga ginagawa? Sa totoo lang, wala pang final decision. Ako, buong tiwala ko. Sa tamang panahon, siya mismo ang magsasabi kung ano ang kanyang desisyon.
Ako po ay willing na tumakbo kung hindi tatakbo si VP Leni. It was always like that. Para akong spare tire, ika nga. Ang logic behind it is dahil hindi pwedeng isurrender na lang ito or we will lose by default to these people na gustong ipagpatuloy itong mga pinagagagawa nila Duterte.
The Vice President's attempts to broaden and unite the opposition does not seem to be completely sitting well with former Senator Antonio Trillanes. Is the heated exchange of words between Trillanes and the Vice President's office a sign that the opposition coalition is breaking up even before it could be forged? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to the special edition of The Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay. Kasama po natin Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star, Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and Ami. Lucy, diretso na natin sa guest natin. Mukhang mainit tong usapan na to. Let's start and let's welcome former Senator Antonio Trillanes. Good evening, Mr. Trillanes.
Good evening, Senator.
Good evening po sa inyo, Ma'am Ami, Ma'am Lucy, and Sir Robbie.
Sir, of course, everybody by now has seen your tweets. Pagkatapos, nagsagutan kayo doon. I mean, let's even put it as nagbangayan kayo doon ng Office of the Vice President and ng staff niya. From your perspective, sir, kasi sabi nila, look, sinabi naman namin, wala pa kaming desisyon. Sinabi naman namin, we're trying to broaden the coalition. Oo, nakipag-usap kami kay Ping Lacson. They confirmed that. But what's so bad about that?
Ang una-una po, we're not opposing yung pag-build ng coalition. Pero, di ba they should have done that the past 5 years? Kaya nga sinimulan itong Isang Bayan because the Liberal Party failed to do that. Tapos nung nagsimula ng Isang Bayan, after nitong June, suddenly, gusto nilang gawin yung ginagawa ng Isang Bayan na they sat on that particular task the past 5 years. So, ibang ibang laro yan. And ang pinakang red line dito is for somebody like Senator Ping Lacson. Dahil sa paniniwala namin, siya, complicit siya dun sa unjust imprisonment ni Senator Laila de Lima. And enabler din siya dito sa mga EJ case. Kasi ando doon yun, nung early part of the Duterte administration. Sila yung mga instigator noon. Sila yung mga nag-whitewash ng mga investigations. And I was there. I saw it. Tapos yung kay Senator de Lima was particularly personal. Kasi nakita ko kung gaano talaga kabigat yung pinagdadaanan ni Senator de Lima. Magpa 5 years na siya nakakulong. Meron pa siyang special child. Talagang for a mother, mabigat yun. At alam natin, trumped-up charges ito. And si Senator Lacson was at the forefront of that. Kaya parang, di ba, ang chairman ng Liberal Party is si VP Leni. Tapos makikipag-usap ka doon sa nagpakulong unjustly dun sa party mate mo. Ang analogy ko dyan, parang nakikipag-negosyo ka dun sa nag-gang rape dun sa anak mo. parang merong limits dun sa mga trapo moves, ika nga. Dapat merong boundaries. So, yun yung pananaw ko.
Sir, linawin lang po natin yung boundaries. Ano? So you're saying this is not even for you a question of process. It's not about the process of Isang Bayan or the Liberal Party. It's not about the process of bringing together the coalition. It is about Senator Lacson and the very fact that she met with him.
Yes, and Senator Gordon also, nalaman ko rin lang belatedly. Kumbaga, yung coalition building, ang napakalawak ng Philippine society. Pwede silang mag-start ng coalition building with the NGO, civil society, and the youth sector, labor. Ang dami, no? Pero nga, ginawa na yan ng Isang Bayan. Di ba? Kasi nga, precisely, the Liberal Party failed to do that the past 5 years. What do they think that they'd be able to accomplish these things in 2 months? Kumaga parang merong laro doon. And ang tinitignan namin dito is yung panawagan or mensahe ng opposition itong 2022 elections. Sabi ko nga, our biggest weapon is the message of change. And if you push for Ping Lacson or Gordon dyan, madidilute yung message na yun. That's not change because these people are part of the Duterte administration. So, continuity lang yan nitong mga nangyari yan.
Well, Senator, narinig naman yung sinabi ni Barry Gutierrez na nag-overreact lang daw kayo at wala pa naman daw na-finalize. At saka medyo mahirap nga kasi yung definition ng opposition when it comes to the Liberal Party. It's not even part of Isang Bayan yet. Saka sa House nga, yung mga miyembro nila, dahil nga because of, I think, out of necessity para maging miyembro ka ng mga certain committees, kasama sila actually, they are not exactly yung talagang opposition na opposition, ano. Pero anyway, ano po yung reaction niyo sa sinabi ni Barry Gutierrez na nag-overreact lang daw kayo at this point, ha?
Okay. Ganito po, hindi naman tayo pinanganak kahapon lang. Ano bang pinag-usapan nila doon? Nagkape lang sila to talk about yung mga buhay-buhay? Hindi naman gano'n, ano? Ang pinag-uusapan diyan is kung sino ang magi-giveaway kanino. Pero ito ang titignan natin. Si Ping Lacson is a declared candidate. Itong isa hindi declared. So hindi pwedeng iilalim o magi-giveaway yung deklarado dun sa hindi deklarado. So ganun lang ang senaryong more likely na itong si VP Leni ang magi-giveaway. Pero pre-empt nga namin yon, ano? And that's why yung aking pag-tweet pag-post sa social media, ito ay deliberate. Hindi po ito random rants. Kung hindi, I am sounding the alarm doon sa hanay ng oposisyon na ganito na yung niluluto nila, ito yung laro nila, kung papayag ba kayo doon. Para everybody is on guard. Kasi hindi pwedeng may mga secret meetings na ganyan. And remember, this was not meant to be publicized. It was only Senator Lacson who leaked it to the media deliberately. Nakita nyo yung mga ganong laro, ano? You, in confidence, you met with him, and yet, nung nakaharap lang siya sa mga media, inilabas niya, inexpose kayo. Well, too bad for them, nalaman namin. At ito na ngayon, kaya nga namin pinapaalam sa buong hanay ng oposisyon. Pero ito po, liliwanagin ko lang. Yung aming grupo, ako po personally at ang aming grupo Magdalo, we are fully behind Vice President Leni Robredo as our standard bearer. Kami ay naniniwala na if she decides kahit na sa September, mananalo ang oposisyon. Hindi po namin binibili yung kanilang framing or yung kanilang pretext na mahina yung numero ni VP Leni, kaya kailangan makipagsanib puwersa dito sa mga Duterte enablers na to. We don't believe that. I don't believe that kasi even sa kasaysayan, yung recent electoral history, hindi nakikita yung winnability before the filing. Kasi maraming scenarios, maraming mga kandidato. So, if she will only believe in herself that she can win, she will. And we will help her win. Yun yung aming posisyon. Hindi namin kailangan i-dilute yung mensahe ng opposition by pulling these people towards our ranks.
Okay, gets naman namin yon na talagang naniniwala ka sa kay VP Lenny na malaki ang pag-asa niya, etc. etc. Pero paano? What if she decides not to run? Hindi ba in a way by doing what you're doing now na magwi-withdraw ka na kaagad, para mo na rin talagang binibisto na talaga palang wala namang unity itong opposition na ito ngayon pa lang nag-aaway-away na sila. Na something, a weakness that that can be fully exploited further by the administration.
Hindi naman po kasi ganito familiar naman po tayo dun sa, let's say, sa Democratic primary sa US na grabe yung bangayan nila Bernie Sanders at saka nila Joe Biden, pero ultimately nung na-nominate na si Joe Biden, nagkaisa din lahat So mga ganito pong mga nangyayari, this is part dun sa pag-solidify eventually ng ranks of the opposition para pagdating ng October, after the filing, dire-diretso na tayo. Talagang malalim na yung pinagsamahan. Pero ang iniiwasan po, yung mga certain scenarios na hindi po katanggap-tanggap. Just like...
So para sa inyo, hindi legitimate, sabihin na natin, opposition, yung mga katulad nila Senator Lacson, sino mga unacceptable ba sa iyo? Yung tipong pag yan nakipag-alyansa sa inyo kalimutan nyo ng support ng magdalo dyan. Sino-sino yung mga yun? Aba, marami-rami rin yun, di ba? Baka nga ma-divide further yung votes. At pag divided nga yung votes, yun ang sinasabi nila, siguradong panalo yung administrasyon. I mean, that's really the reality. That's what they're saying.
Yan po ang sinasabi nila. But the fact is, ito pong sila Senator Lacson at sila Senator Gordon, mga nasa hanay pa to ni Duterte. So kung tatakbo itong mga ito, I don't see them dividing the opposition because as far as I'm concerned, they are not opposition. They are, what's this? At least siguro at most namamangka sa dalawang ilog. Pero ang red line dito is itong dalawa na ito, enablers to ni Duterte, lalo na sa EJ case, and complicit sila dun sa pagkakulong ni Senator De Lima. Hindi yan katanggap-tanggap as far as I'm concerned kasi nakita ko how it went down. And in fact, I gave enough information dito sa kila VP Lenny about Senator Lacson. Ito yung mga dossier na binigay ni General Beroya doon sa aming Viber group. Medyo mahaba-haba yun. Kailangan tignan yon kasi ito yung itinutulak niyong presidente ng Pilipinas na bibigyan mo ng powers of the presidency. This kind of person, kailangan mag-isip-isip tayo. Remember, he is the principal author of the anti-terror law. So one lawyer said, imagine niyo yan, pag naging presidente yan, gagamitin sa buong bansa yung terror law na sinulat niya. So kaya ito yun po ang red line for us. Ngayon, yung opposition naman, kunyari, let's say si Mayor Isko Moreno, ang piliin ni VP Lenny na mag-vice president sa kanya. We will welcome that. Ako I'll gladly step aside kahit hindi po ako tumakbo ng VP or basta matuloy si VP Lenny kung sinong piliin niya na makakatulong sa kanya. We welcome that. This is not about me. Wala po ako sa eksena rito. Ang iba kasi yung standard bearer. Pagka ang standard bearer, kunyari si Isko, iba rin usapan yan. Pero kung mag-VP sila, wala ang problema po yon kasi still, ang agenda po is with the opposition under VP Lenny.
Hi, Senator, gaya nga po ng sinasabi ng lahat ng tao, isang problema dito is walang kalinawan lahat na to hanggat di natin alam and we get a categorical statement from Vice President Lenny Robredo na tatakbo siya. But in the meantime, habang wala pa yon, marami ring kalituhan stemming from ano ba yung opposition? Ano ba yung opposition coalition? And what is the process even to define what that coalition is? Yung isang tweet nyo, napakadiretso, sinabi nyo, Liberal Party, tandaan nyo, hindi kayo ang opposition. And some people are saying, oh, but Isang Bayan is saying that. But let's face it, yung Isang Bayan, bagong panganak lang din yan. They're also still trying to get people. Ano po ba? Kayo nga po mag-explain sa amin, as far as you're concerned, how exactly do you define the opposition, the potential opposition, the coalition, and how will that come together? Is it really under Isang Bayan? Is Isang Bayan really becoming the leader of the opposition or the mechanism for that?
Ito po, no, yung Isang Bayan, lahat po kami nag-submit na dyan. In fact, I went to, we agreed to be part of Isang Bayan upon the invitation of some Liberal Party leaders themselves. Ano? Tapos nalaman namin, hindi pala sila kasama dyan. Pero that's with the understanding that ito yung broader coalition that would propel VP Leni to be the next president. So yan po yung pananaw namin. Ngayon, ano yung opposition? At the very least, hindi ito maka-Duterte. Hindi ito agree dun sa EJK policy ni Duterte, sa West Philippine Sea policy ni Duterte, dito sa anti-terror law at yung mga pang-iipit sa media, for example, sa iba't ibang mga acts of oppression nitong administrasyon na to. Yun yung, kumbaga, qualifiers to be part of Isang Bayan and, of course, the opposition.
Well, actually,
Pero
sabi ni Senate President Soto at saka ni Senator Lacson, hindi naman daw sila administration, hindi rin sila opposition, and they're talking about the middle ground, the middle force. You think this is possible? That actually, baka nga nag-emerge tong parang centrist group na to. And anong magiging impact nun kung sa kasakalan dyan sa Isang Bayan and what you're describing as the genuine opposition?
Well, I cannot speak for Isang Bayan po. No? I believe they have their own timelines and processes. Pero yung middle ground, ang tanong kasi dito, ultimately, pagdating ng kampanya, no? Asan ba kayo nung ginagahasa ni Duterte yung Pilipinas? Asan kayo nung pinaplunder niya yung nation's coffers? Diba? They will have to justify that. Kasi we will ask them, have they ever called out Duterte for his crimes against the country and our people? So yun po ang pananaw ko po dyan.
Okay, yung sinabi ng Isang Bayan mo, ang susundin daw nilang proseso ay eto, may mga pagpipilian sila, tapos meron silang panel na magdi-decide, tapos magboboto-boto lahat ng mga kabahagi ng Isang Bayan. Pero ang dating nyo sa amin ay, ang sinasabi nyo is, susuporta ka lang kapag ang tatakbong pagkapangulo ay si VP Leni. Tama ba? So kumbaga, hindi ka magse-settle for anything less than VP Leni herself running for president.
Okay, ganito po, no? Ang sinabi namin na we will submit to the process ng Isang Bayan. Susuportahan namin kung sino yung endorso ni Isang Bayan. At yun po, sa ngayon, we concede na kay VP Leni na yun. Kasi dalawa na lang po kaming naiwan na nominee ng Isang Bayan. Ano? Si VP Leni tsaka ako. Ako naman, kina-qualify ko sa kanila. Pagka pumasok si VP Leni sa presidential race, magwi-withdraw ako. So technically siya na yon. So Isang Bayan is it. It is the vehicle.
Sir, linawin ko lang po. Linawin ko lang po yung sinabi nyo. Baka kasi hindi namin alam yung buong proseso ng Isang Bayan. Kasi sabi nyo, dalawa na lang kami. Some people believe
Kasi
na
hindi yan
dalawa
ang
pa
sinasabi
lang.
nila eh.
Di ba? Yung akala ng
Oo.
ibang tao, ako, iniisip ko, dalawa pa lang ang pinag-iisipan. Pero iba, dalawa na lang. May nangyari ba sa proseso na it is officially just down to the two of you?
Bago pa? Oo.
Okay, I believe, teka po, muna, baka na-preempt ko, no? Kasi they will have their own announcement for that. But I was informed na gano'n na lang po, dalawa na lang po. Ano? So they will have to officially declare that. But they are still leaving the door open for any other nominee. No? Kung papasok po dyan si let's say si Isko Moreno, si Mayor Isko, edi dadaan po siya doon sa vetting process, doon sa kanilang interviews. So, doon
Yun
po
na
yun.
nga, paano kung si Isko ang in-endorse nila?
Ng isang bayan?
Titiwalag ka ba? Oo.
No, I will
Kasi,
support.
kumbaga,
I will support po.
you will
I
naman.
will. I will po.
Okay.
So yun po ang
Okay, so
sinabi
it's-
namin, maliwanag, it's isang bayan. Isang bayan ang susuportahan namin kung sino ang inonominate.
What if it's
Kaya
formulated,
naman po nangyari-
yeah, Senator, what is formulated as Leni Robredo for President and let's say Ping Lacson for Vice President?
Okay lang po. Sabi ko nga ho, ang importante sa amin yung standard bearer.
Okay.
Yung VP, okay lang po yan. We will, kung talagang sila'y napili, wala ho tayong magagawa, we will support VP Leni still. Iba hong usapan kasi pag yung standard bearer. Ito yung inaalok mo sa taong bayan na mamumuno sa ating bansa after Duterte. So I don't believe that if you push these people, this is pushing for change. No. This is pushing for the continuity of whatever we have. Yeah.
Isang bayan open to, for example, Senator Manny Pacquiao? Kasi yung camp niya sabi, they are also willing to talk to isang bayan for a possible alliance. At saka yung reforma, ang head doon, hindi naman si Ping well, he's the chair, but the president is Pantaleon Alvarez, who we know is kalaban ni Sara Duterte Carpio, which might put him in the ranks of the opposition at this point. Sinabi din niya sa amin kagabi na willing din daw siya to explore an alliance with isang bayan. Anong tingin niyo kay Congressman Alvarez at kay Senator Pacquiao if they are going to explore alliances with isang bayan?
Okay, ano po yan, hypotheticals yan, so all of these things are possible. Ang sinasabi lang ho dito is hindi po dinicline na ni Senator Lacson yung invitation. Yung kay Senator Pacquiao po kasi may proseso sila, no. Theoretically, if somebody would be nominated officially by any of the conveners, so masasubject sila dun sa process.
Yes.
So theoretically, hypothetically, all of these things are possible, but the probability is quite small at this point. Kasi siguro si Senator Pacquiao, babalik na yan siya baka by September na after his fight.
Senator, so far we've been talking a lot about the opposition. I hope you don't mind. Let's talk about the administration. One big story today, I'm sure in the front pages of the Philippine Star tomorrow, the visit by Defense Secretary of the U.S. Lloyd Austin, quite successful, quite productive for the United States. They get the President Duterte, to take back his order to rescind the VFA. So in other words, the VFA stays and continues. Malinaw po ang nakuha ng United States. What do you think might the administration have gotten out of this?
Well, at least Mr. Duterte is hoping na hindi niya na magiging problema yung geopolitical factor in the 2022 elections. Pero tignan niyo yung on the side ng mga Amerikano, would they trust another Duterte as regards handling yung kanilang foreign policy in this part of the world? They will have to answer that. Katiwa-tiwala ba ang Duterte name for them? I don't think so.
So what do you mean by that? Are you saying that by that reality, if that's what you want to call it, are they going to be supporting anybody who runs against? Yung ba sinasabi mo? You're now confident that the US, aminin na natin, may influence, although hindi directly nakikialam, ay mas susuportahan ng kalaban ng mga Duterte or sino mang Duterte.
I believe hindi naman po yan sila magi-intervene sa ating elections. Let's just say na hindi nila ikatutuwa na ang Duterte pa rin ang mananalo. Kasi naranasan nila the past 6 years or the past 5 years kung ano ang epekto sa kanila, sa kanilang foreign policy ng isang Duterte regime. So kung ikaw po ay isang analyst na magre-recommend sa kanilang State Department, would you write a favorable write-up
Well,
sa mga
if
kandidato ni
if you were that analyst, one of the things you might mention as a detail is Sara Duterte made it a point to be there at the 4th of July celebrations this year. I mean, a lot of people noticed that. Do you think that Washington might perceive that as their reading into, the personality of Sara Duterte na that's a Duterte pero iba yan sa tatay niya?
I believe lahat yun kasi they're also entertaining a possibility that Sara Duterte would win, ano? So in case that happens, mas maganda na naka-establish ka na ng initial rapport with the daughter. Pero I believe at the end of the day, yung mga analysts nila dyan will still favor a non-Duterte candidate over a Duterte candidate kasi nasubukan nyo na yung brand na yan eh. Para naman kayong masochista nun if pinahirapan na kayo for 5 years tapos you'd still prefer that same lineage, kumaga.
Senator, sa pagka-presidente yon, sa basa nyo ngayon kay Presidente Duterte and after listening to his SONA, sa tingin nyo seryoso pa rin siyang tumakbo for Vice President?
I believe he would want to protect himself more than anything. If he believes that running for Vice President would achieve that, then he will, ano? Kasi ano siya eh, this guy really doesn't care about the country. He just cares about himself. So, but I'm not worried at all whether he runs or not. In fact, I would prefer that he runs for president para sa ganon, we will have that golden opportunity as a country, as a people, to reject the two Dutertes in one election. So it's a repudiation of the Duterte brand. And that would be a big message to the whole world that we have come to our senses coming from that blunder that we made in 2016.
Have you talked to the VP lately after, alam niyo yun, after your, sabihin na natin, palitan ng quips with Barry Gutierrez at the very least? No?
Hindi pa. Wala naman po kaming palitan ni Barry
Well,
Gutierrez. Kasi
he said that he felt very insulted by what you said about VP Lenny, kumbaga, dropping the ball on Senator De Lima, no? Parang ganun.
But ganito po eh.
She had been supportive all the way.
I didn't even mention the name of Barry Gutierrez in my statements. So I don't know how he could even feel insulted about anything. If he did feel insulted, then that's his problem. Actually, I don't care either way. But the bottom line here is we would have preferred, my statement there was, I would have preferred na nag-intervene sila VP Lenny and the Liberal Party nung kasagsagan ng investigation against Senator De Lima. Sana kinausap nila si Senator Lacson na maghinay-hinay naman kayo dito sa aming kapartido at hindi naman totoo yan. But nothing of, walang ganon na nangyari at all.
So,
They didn't even
naibatid
attend
mo ba
sa
yung...
committee
No, what about your relationship with VP Lenny? Are you asking at the very least for, audience time with her, no? To tell her what you're telling us now?
Prerogative niya po yan. Ano? Ako naman, happy naman ako dun sa intermediary that they assigned for me. The messages are clearly being relayed and vice versa. So, I don't have any problem. Hindi naman ako para nagpapapansin sa kanya. No? Before the pandemic, I've been regularly meeting with the Vice President and there's no problem there. During the pandemic, it's totally understandable that she may have had other priorities. So, I will leave it at that.
Senator, let's just go back to the original question when we started. Nabubuwag na ba itong coalition bago pa nabuo? And whatever your answer is, what's the way forward for the coalition, however you want to define it?
I don't believe na nabubuwag siya. Let's just say that the coalition is being forged in the crucible of political adversities. So, ganun lang talaga yun. But I believe we would emerge stronger once the filing has been done. So, ganun na yun. We will march on to victory by May 2022.
Okay. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes, aspirant for President. Maraming salamat po.
Thank
Thank you,
you, Senator.
Senator.
Thank you.
We'll need to take a break. Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back. Welcome back, the Chiefs here on One News. Now joining us are Her Excellency Anke Reifenstuhl, Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to the Philippines, and Herr Matthias Hallerbach, representative of CNC Human Resource Development. Good evening, Ambassador Reifenstuhl and Mr. Hallerbach. Welcome to the Chiefs.
Good evening to both of you.
Good evening. Magandang gabi.
Magandang gabi, Ambassador. And before anything else, kamusta kayo? We want to ask, I mean, the whole world, of course, is still, still quite anxious. But how are you doing with COVID in Germany?
Well, I'm here in Manila, in the Philippines, so I'm following the news from here, what's going on in Germany, and of course we are facing the same challenges more or less as the Philippines do here. We are all struggling and putting all our efforts in containing the spread of the virus, and have to strike in Germany as well as the Philippines, strike a balance between keeping the economy afloat and safeguarding the health of the people while ensuring essential sectors are being taken care of adequately. And right now we are seeing a new wave of the Delta variant rising in Germany, in Europe, as well as here in the Philippines. So we are in this together.
Yes, and certainly being together, that's of course one reason why we did invite you. We understand Germany wants to deploy more Filipino healthcare workers to your country. Where is that? And where is that campaign right now?
Well, to start with, we started nearly 10 years back in 2013. We started a program, a government-to-government arrangement, Triple Win, winners on all sides. This means to deploy Philippine healthcare workers in Germany, since we have a huge demand. Right now, we have a gap of about 50,000 healthcare workers in Germany. Over the next years, this will increase to up to 300,000, 400,000. So this was the reason why we started a program which we call Triple Win with several countries, but the Philippines has become a major partner in this. And this program, this agreement ensures a high standard of deployment guarantees for salaries, job guarantee, social security coverage, etc. But right now, what we see here in the Philippines, of course, you all know, is the deployment cap that has been imposed by the Philippine government, by IATF, and this really is a huge challenge for us, since even with the deployment cap of 5,000 healthcare workers and the increase of adding of another 1,500 healthcare workers, this obviously is not enough. In Germany alone,
Yes,
we have usually deployed about 2,000 healthcare workers before the pandemic.
Mr. Hallerbach, maybe you can answer this question. What is the situation as far as the pandemic is concerned now in Germany?
Well, now it is pretty much back to normal when it comes to the healthcare system. The cases are very low, but as the ambassador said, the cases, especially of the Delta variant, are going up. So we are expecting in Germany's case, fourth wave of new cases, and we're all waiting for what we can do, and we're all a little just preparing, basically.
Mr. Hallerbach, your company is involved in the recruitment of healthcare workers in the Philippines. Could you tell us more about it? I mean, you have offices here in the Philippines. How many have you recruited, and maybe you can tell us why you want Filipino nurses?
Okay, so CNC Human Resource Development is part of the Pro Civitate group. And Pro Civitate runs 25 nursing homes and care facilities in Germany with around about 1,500, so 1,500 employees, and right now like 150 Filipino nurses already. And the demand is so high in Germany that we decided as CNC not only to recruit for Pro Civitate, our own facilities, but also to expand and look for other customers, other hospital groups in Germany that need nurses.
Do you recruit from other countries as well?
No, we solely recruit from the Philippines because we think it's absolutely the right decision to come to the Philippines. The educational system is excellent with a 4-year bachelor degree. The gap between the German degree and the Philippine degree is really, really low. So the adjustment is rather easy for the nurses. The language, the official language, I mean, we are speaking in English right now, and from English to German, it's not that far. Whereas from other, especially Asian languages to German, it's much more difficult. And then also the culture is very similar. If you live in the Philippines and you've worked in a hospital in the Philippines, you will be more than welcome in a nursing home or in a hospital in Germany, and you will be having a easy time to adjust.
And we are, of course, as you know, very, very proud of our of our nurses and doctors, especially as they work all over the world, especially in Europe. However, at this current crisis, as you know, there is some tension there because we are also stretched thin here to the point that the government also has put a cap on the number of people that they would like to see going out, notwithstanding trying to respect the rights of individual nurses to pursue whatever opportunities may open up for them. I'm just wondering, given those realities, what are the complications in this, and how is that being untangled, if at all?
Sorry, you asked me?
Maybe the ambassador? Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. I mean, this deployment cap is really a big challenge for us, since there is a huge demand, as it was described by Mr. Hallerbach, and we are struggling to find solutions to this. Of course, we are in close dialogue and contact with the Philippine government, with Secretary Bello and with POEA, in order to explain the situation and to find solutions jointly. And we urgently request and requested the Philippine government to once again lift the deployment cap and to reconsider the solutions, because there is a huge demand, and there is also pressure from the Philippine side. There is a huge number of Philippine healthcare workers who are already contracted and in the pipeline, and who are most willing to go to Germany also in order to support their families back here in the Philippines. You know that the OFWs are providing a huge amount of remittances every year. The remittances account for about 8.5% of the GDP, at least annually, to the Philippine GDP. So, which is more than 30 billion US dollar every year, and remittances from Germany accounts for several hundred millions of US dollar. So this is also an important factor that should be taken into consideration, that the remittances are not coming in if the healthcare workers that are already contracted in the pipeline don't have a chance to start their contracts, to work in Germany and to earn a decent salary, and to support their families back here in the Philippines.
Okay, well, there is probably no shortage of Filipino nurses who might want to actually accept the offer of Germany. It's the government now negotiating on their behalf. What factors do you think will the government consider in probably increasing the cap in order for you to be able to fill the gap, at least as far as Filipino nurses are concerned? What benefits are there that you're offering for these nurses so that the government can also reconsider their decision on the cap?
I think the benefits are on the table, and I have explained them recently again and discussed with Secretary Bello. I mean, there is a very high standard for these in these agreements for these deployments. There is a job guarantee. There is a high standard for labor rights. So the people who are being deployed in Germany, they are treated in a very decent manner. They have a decent salary. There are bonus payments, there is retirement support, there is several weeks of paid holiday every year, things like this. And of course, the vaccination issue has been one point. Vaccination of healthcare workers is an important thing for us. Healthcare workers are in the top priority group for vaccinations in Germany. So all this is being taken care of, and I hope it will be considered and factors that are being considered in the current discussion and hopefully reconsideration.
So, Ambassador, you've had talks with Secretary Bello. What was the initial reaction? And did they give you any timetable at all to reach a decision? Because we understand that they have eased the restrictions on deployment for nurses going to the UK. Did they give you any word that maybe in a couple of weeks they might decide on Germany's case?
Yes, I found Secretary Bello very open and very much actively listening to all the benefits that I have just described. And of course, it's a matter that is being tabled in the IATF. It's not a decision of one agency or one department alone. And all the factors have to be taken into account, including the one that has been mentioned before here, to the need here in the Philippines due to the pandemic. All this has to be considered, but the experience we have made with DOLE and with DOEA was to be open and for reconsideration. And after a first meeting, I had the immediate result and the discussion led to the IATF lifting or adding of another 1,500 to the number of the healthcare workers that are being allowed to leave the country to be deployed.
There are already 2,000 Filipino healthcare workers who have received their certification from your government. Would you know if they are currently employed in our hospitals? Because I think the hospitals will want to hold on to them at this point. Or are they among the many, mostly nurses, who are not currently employed and who don't want to work in the country right now?
Of course, I don't have the complete overview and the detailed overview. This is probably also a question for Mr. Hallerbach. But I know that most of the nurses that are here are not working in the healthcare sector right now. They are under a contract with Germany, with German hospitals. So this might also be create some tension for them not to be employed in another contract. But probably Mr. Hallerbach can give more details on this.
Mr. Hallerbach?
Sure. So I can talk about our pipeline maybe. So currently, due to the pandemic, we had to switch to online training. And actually, we started preparing this before the pandemic even started. So we currently have 400 people training in German language, because the preparation takes at least 7, maybe 9 months just for them to learn the language. So there are 400 people right now studying German. While at the same time, we have roughly 80 people with the required language certificate already. And they are just afraid that they won't be able to leave the country before the cap of an additional 1,500 now is being reached. So I every day see those nurses who went through all the struggle of learning the language, which is not easy. I don't envy them. And then they pass the exam, and then in the end, they may not be allowed to leave, or they are just allowed to leave next year. But then, if you don't use the language, you will forget a lot about it. So that is really the challenge we are facing at the moment.
So is it
normal-
is it accurate to say that it is right now it is just the deployment ban, it is just the deployment cap that is keeping it, or are there other challenges for these people in the pipeline?
I mean, a deployment is not being from one day to the other. As Mr. Hallerbach just said, it takes several months, so you need a reliable planning and a solid planning basis and a planning horizon. And if this security for the planning is not there, then the agencies for which it is a huge investment to go into these contracts for deployment might turn away and might take a reorientation to other countries. And this potential risk of reorientation to other countries is a challenge I see looming at the horizon here for the Philippines. And to be honest, currently I wouldn't feel comfortable to encourage agencies to opt for the Philippines with no planning security. What is coming up for the people they might contract, invest in, and having in the pipeline with this kind of deployment cap.
Under normal circumstances, before the pandemic, what kind of numbers were we looking at, and how often did the deployment take place in a year, for example?
The deployment is taking place continuously, and we have built partnerships, very good working relationships with a number of agencies for the visa section in the embassy and the Goethe Institute, other language learning institutes. This has been, we have seen, I mean, in the last year before the pandemic, in 2019, we had nearly 2,000 visas issued for healthcare workers, which was always, what we had seen over the past years was always from year to year a doubling in numbers. And this, of course, has been stopped and even decreased with the pandemic. and now we are way below the numbers we want to reach, and even more below the growing demand we have in Germany.
How long do the contracts usually last? We're just curious. And how many of them actually end up staying in Germany as citizens? I'm sure these are the questions that some of our nurse viewers might be asking in their minds now. Well, either one of you may answer. Madam Ambassador, maybe.
Of course, we are encouraging the healthcare workers to work in Germany, and there are integration courses, and we have a growing, fortunately and luckily, a growing number and a growing Filipino community in Germany. At the same time, we know that for many Filipinos and for many Philippine healthcare workers, working abroad is a temporary issue, and of course they are longing, craving to come back to the Philippines one day to their families. At the same time, they see and they experience Germany being a wonderful country with an amazing Christmas tradition. So there is a lot Filipinos will like and love in Germany, and I think that many of them, maybe although not intended in the first place, might even decide to stay in Germany.
In the meantime,
Ambassador
Reifenstoel.
share, huh?
Yeah. In the meantime, Ambassador Reifenstoel, on the other side of this partnership and these cooperations, what's going on here in the Philippines for the Philippines? Talk about the dynamics and the cooperation between Germany and the Philippines to also improve pandemic response here in the country.
Well, to say it in 2 words would be COVAX initiative. Germany is the largest financial donor after the US to this COVAX initiative. Germany provided more than 2.6 billion US dollar to so far to COVAX. And COVAX is a multilateral initiative and structure, and this is the way we, Germany, work in addressing the pandemic. Apart from funding COVAX, we also are funding and contributing and providing huge funds to international, to multilateral organizations, mainly the United Nations, that have the experts and the structures for a comprehensive and effective and ambitious support and relief programs. So we are funding with millions and billions of euro every year. The United Nations organizations here for the Philippines. We have worked with IOM, with UNICEF, with WHO, WFP. They are our main partners in the COVID response, and the Red Cross, of course. So these are the structures, these are the ways or the channels we are using in the COVID response. But our main approach for the pandemic, for the vaccination, for the pandemic response is COVAX.
I'll just squeeze in one question, because BioNTech, the partner of Pfizer, is a German company.
It's BioNTech, yes.
Does your embassy have any special participation in the arrival of Pfizer vaccines, Pfizer BioNTech vaccines in the Philippines? Are you involved in any way?
Yes, I was at the airport when the first Pfizer BioNTech batch arrived, which was part of the COVAX initiative, and we were proud to be part in funding and with the BioNTech part in the vaccine to be able to contribute to the vaccination campaign here in the Philippines.
And can we expect more Pfizer shots?
To be honest, COVAX, the COVAX batches, there will be more, and I think there is more Pfizer BioNTech in the pipeline. But as far as I know, the Philippine government has also signed contracts with Pfizer BioNTech on a commercial basis.
Okay.
Okay. Ambassador Reifenstoel and Mr. Matthias Hallerbach, Vielen Dank. Thank you very much. Her Excellency
Thank
you.
Anke
Thank you very
Reifenstoel,
much.
Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to the Philippines, Mr. Matthias Hallerbach, representative of CNC Human Resource Development. And that's all for this special edition of The Chiefs, but we hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
And I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and we are One News.